Got it. Right. Let's do this. Welcome, everyone, to the latest Heresy Hammer. I will be your host for this evening, John. I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Robert Medwell. Say hello, Robert Medwell.
Hello, everybody.
And we have a special guest this evening, and that special guest is Mark, who is Hermes Olympian 1 on Instagram and is an incredibly seasoned Raven Guard player, our very own Tame Raven.
Hello.
I heard that if he flies away from the venue where we play all of our games, then the whole thing just collapses. Is that correct?
It's very true.
Right. We're going to crack through this tonight because we've slightly edited the format this evening because there will be no news because there is no news. There will be no hashtag Heresy Hammer today because we are going to start a new show that Rob and I are going to do once a month, where we're going to do a whole community show where we look through all of the hashtag Heresy Hammers in more detail and we answer, we reach deep into our sack and pull out some of our favourite correspondence, listener questions, viewer questions, and we're going to go into some of that in more depth. So look forward to that coming in May. Tonight, we're going to talk about everything emo. We're going to all put on black nail varnish. We're going to start listening to some Thursday, and we're going to get deep and emotional. Is that correct?
Yeah, 100%, 100% correct. It's funny that Mark, you've chosen Raven Guard as your legion, but yeah, because it's quite emo. Whereas Mark, I would say, is more a statistician when it comes to.
He's more an Iron Hand.
Yeah. A member of the. What's the Iron Hand like club where they go and like just play with their toys and basically practice games of Warhammer? Can you remember what the dodecahedron is? Is that what it's called or something?
No, that's Iron Warriors, you absolute clown.
Oh, so he's an Iron Hand. No, he's definitely an Iron Warrior. Way more.
Yeah, the dodecathon.
Dodecathon, that's it.
Yeah, finally, I know a bit of lore. It's only taken 2.5 years.
Yeah, so we're getting emo prisoners, right? Convicts escaped from deliverance.
Yeah, good old escapees. They have just more feelings than everyone else. I think that's the way I would describe it.
Which is strange because Mark has zero feelings, not even remorse for all the war crimes committed by his legion.
Cold, hard facts.
Because it was very bright on my head. So Raven Guard. So I think an oft overlooked legion on the tabletop. You don't see, you certainly didn't see an awful lot of Raven Guard. Certainly the start of this edition, I think because they had rules that were more than just a single line of you get +1 toughness or you get +1 to shoot vehicles. But certainly from my current experience, you'll see in Raven Guard more and more. It's because they have really cool backstory, they have really cool models, and they have incredible rules. Is that not right, gents?
It is. But we'll get to that in a bit because I think we've got some sponsors to thank first.
We have loads of people to thank. The first people to thank are the team at Curtin and Oakhampton Games, a regular haunt for certainly for me for events. And also for purchasing big boxes of toys. Rob and I both frequent them on a regular basis. Normally whenever there's a FOMO box drop in, we'll hit up Tim and the team and they'll sort us out with some sweet plastic. So if you're in the Southwest, or alternatively, if you have access to a post box, then hit up the guys at Curtin Games and they will send you out some stuff in exchange for cold hard cash. And if you like things that aren't plastic, but maybe are produced in resin, then our longtime friend and sponsor, Dan from Gated 3D Printing, he is a man who is obsessed by quality. So if you want a huge range and in some cases an exclusive range, he has some tie-ins with some very, very talented sculptors, then you can hit up Gated 3D Printing and he will print you some incredibly good shit. Moving on.
Oh, yes.
So, Mark, why don't you take this moment to introduce yourself? Maybe tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and why you love the Raven Guard so much.
Yeah. So I've been playing Heresy for a while now. Joined kind of obviously most of us in the middle of 1.0. I think I kind of around sort of book 5, and definitely remember book 6, Retribution, which is I think where I kind of fell in love with the idea of the Shattered Legions.
Mm-hmm.
And originally this project was a Shattered Legions army, so I have some Iron Hands and a few Salamanders. But I think I just really liked the way that the Raven Guard played. Even in 1.0, I quite like infantry more than tanks. Don't really believe in tanks, as Rob knows. There's one there, but ignore that. And I think quite quickly just expanded the collection, liked the kind of the way I got the black armor. And yeah, it just kind of spiraled as it always does from there, really. And now I've got more points than I should probably admit in Raven Guard.
I think what I like about the Raven is I think they're one of those armies that can play in multiple phases. So, which is really, really, really cool. They're one of the few armies that have super dynamism in the movement phase. They have a really, not I wouldn't say unmatched shooting prowess, but they have a very different way of being able to play in the shooting phase. And then in combat, they are absolute mega murderers.
Yeah,
I think they fit the Heresy aesthetic really, really well as well. I think their model range is fantastic. And they're, I think, one of those armies that probably falls into the category of the finesse army. They're much more of the kind of death by 1,000 cuts or 1,000 talons than they are necessarily the kind of blunt instruments of, say, the Iron Warriors or Hands. Would you agree with that, Rob?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I would echo everything that you've just said there.
Good, let's move on.
I think it'd be interesting to get this from Mark's perspective, actually, because I don't know when you read the rules initially, Mark, you kind of was like either disappointed or, just like, but they just do everything so well. And I think and we'll come to War Gear later on, in a game which, more often than not has night fighting in it, they can also fight in the dark so well, which is definitely one of the things that I found uber frustrating when playing against them. One thing I would say about Mark, though, with his list is that despite the fact he takes, I would say, very kind of like synergized is definitely the word I'm looking for. He also branches out into lists that I think are not synergized as well. So if you have a look at the list in the top left-hand corner on the slide here, that's a list he took to Cryptic Cabin, and that was just kind of like the whole theme was like speed and jet bikes and fast, right? And it wasn't the most optimized just by virtue of the fact that it had jet bikes in, but I think it's really cool that you're playing in different ways, and I always thought that was a really inventive thing to do as well. So yeah, really glad to have you on the show. So thanks ever so much for coming, Mark.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. I think certainly one thing that I've found out about Mark is that he wins games in the list writing phase.
Yes,
and I think that's something that I think anyone who's ever played Mark will attest to, is the fact that everything is really, really well thought out, and a really kind of classic example of the fact where you can really make a lovely, delicious lemonade with some incredibly bitter lemons by simply just investing time to kind of get to know your Legion, get to know how the game plays, and by getting out creative and thinking outside the box a little bit.
Yeah, 100%.
Wonderful stuff. Righty ho. So we're going to move swiftly on to the main segment. As we said, there's no news because there is no news. There is no correspondence because that's all going to its own separate episode now. So look out for even more Heresy Hammer. And we're going to get cracking. So we're going to go into depth each of the units, the warlord traits, the rights of war. We're going to probably tangent onto some kind of ideas about how to use this stuff in games. Some of the stuff that you might actually see more often over when Rob and I do the tactical deep dives over on the Patreon, we're going to probably bring in, as we have such a Raven God connoisseur with us this evening. It would be amiss if we didn't make best use of Mark's enormous brain.
Mark's also given us a 3K list as well to go through at the end of this. And this is his kind of like go-to list that he would use for decap strike. So that'll be good to review that and see what we can pull out from that as well.
Oh, wonderful stuff. So, if you were to challenge Mark to a game and say, right, you've got 5 minutes to get your shit together, this is the army that he would likely bring out. Is that what you're saying, Mark?
100%.
This is why it's my anti-Rob Medwell list.
Oh, so incredibly weak then in that case, because let's be honest, they need to be particularly strong to roll Rob over the
Well, I've been listening to his Marshal Signals chat, so I'll take him seriously now.
Yeah,
the man's got a longer losing streak than the skids in my pants. So bless him. So yeah, if you do come up against Rob at an event coming up over the next few months, do everyone a favour and just submarine yourself for him, because it'll make him feel so much better.
Yes, please. Thanks very much.
Thanks in advance. He might even supply you with some Heresy Hammer dice or something.
Yes.
And if he doesn't, I will. Hit me up, because I am a favour. Okay, so without further ado, let's talk Raven Guard. So, Mark, why don't you kick us off and talk to us about how the Raven Guard are slightly differ from your standard sort of Legiones Astartes traits?
Well, it alludes to it here, where there's a variety of rules that your units can have based on their rules. So infantry will gain one, jump infantry and terminators and dreadnoughts will get another one, and then your bikes and etc. will gain a further one from that. So usually it's either everything gets one thing, or tanks and infantry get slightly different things. So there's a lot of nuance within that in itself.
Should we go to those rules? I think they're on the next slide, and then just come back to the advanced reaction. Yeah.
So the first one, this is Shadow and Fury. So the models with the infantry type,
but do not also have the heavy units type, or have a jump pack, or a Corvid pattern jump pack, or Tartarus or armor game, the Talon's special rule.
Yeah. And then all of those units with jump packs and Terminator armor, they get the Falcons, and then the remaining units, which is bikes, jet bikes, speeders, fast vehicles, gain the Hawk special rule.
Okay, all right.
So, Talons. If a unit composed entirely of models with the Talon special rule is targeted by a shooting attack, all models in that unit gain the Shrouded 6-up special rule if the attacking unit is more than 8 inches away from any model in the target unit. In addition, all models with this special rule also gain the Infiltrate special rule.
I love how they started with like the Shrouded 6-up, which is like, yeah, okay. But then then they drop the bomb of the Infiltrate just right at the end of a very short sentence.
It's like when you sort of quaff the top of a cappuccino, you get that delicious, lovely little froth before the massive caffeine hit further down.
Yeah, this is now... I mean, this is absolutely huge, right? Having Infiltrate and having it on your infantry that are obviously not jump infantry and not Terminators or whatever, it just gives you so much more board control. And I'd be interested to see if you think, Mark, that since the Siege of Cathonia missions came, this has that made the Raven Guard more powerful, do you think? Or do you think that they were just as powerful as before? Because being able to dominate early on those objectives, just with being able to get onto them, I think is just so powerful.
Yeah, they certainly excel at objective missions. That's where they, I think, are the strongest. In general, Infiltrate, I think, is great. I think with the prevalence of augury scanners, people kind of think, oh, well, Infiltrate's not that good. But the way I think about it is that it's a staggered deployment. So if you're going first, for example, you tend to, with a standard army, quote unquote, you'll just place your army, your opponent will react to where your army is, and then you get to play. Whereas with Raven Guard, you'll place a portion of your army, then your opponent will place, and then you get to place all your specialist units against that army.
Okay, yeah.
So regardless of whether they push you back, it's still I get to kind of place and think about what unit's going to do what in relation to this, which I think is the most powerful thing about it.
Yeah, that's actually, I hadn't considered that. And actually now that, because even if you're 6 inches up, you can start to think about, okay, well, I need this to go after this unit or whatever. And then often there are a couple of units that have scout as part of that as well, right? I mean, there are some that we'll go through a little bit later on. And then the Shrouded is interesting as well, because often, you know, like Angron is a good example. He would give army wide feel no pain on a 6-up, I think it is. Whereas these guys, just infantry models, just come up with a 6-up Shrouded. And a Shrouded, I would say, well, there are some cases where it can be ignored, but you know, it's not like strength 8 will W out in that situation. You would still have your Shrouded, right? So yeah, it seems small, but can be handy, I guess.
Here's an open question to the group. Does the sort of innate 6-up Shrouded ever prevent you from, or make you think twice about taking apothecaries, given that you can obviously only ever take one mitigation save?
Oh, interesting. Good point.
You know, it's redundancy, I think. So if you take a tactical squad as a great example, if they're going to be sitting at the back on an objective, if someone ignores shrouding, then you're going to get feel no pain from being next to an objective. If it doubles you out, but you might still get your shrouded save. So it's just like an additional layer. I'd say for units such as that, it probably would put me off. I think for your power units, you probably still would, because you want that extra save in combat.
5-up. You want that extra bit of spice. Yeah, of course. So models with the Raven Guard special rule infantry unit type, which is heavy, or models that have a jump pack or Corvette pattern jump pack, or Tartarus Terminator armor in Falcons. And Falcons is any model with a special rule where they re-roll all failed to wound rolls of 1 in any assault phase in which they make a successful charge, even if that charge is considered disordered. That, to me, is absolutely brilliant. Now, is it as good from your experience, Mark? Is it as good as I think it is?
I like it. I think this was one of the ones from first edition, I think became perhaps down powered a bit, because it used to be Furious Charge.
Right.
So that's great, right? And I think this is where the criticism of the rules kind of starts, because people will say that, Assault Marines don't benefit from this, but that's not quite true, I think, because your Hammer of Wrath, you'll reroll your ones if you get Hammer of Wrath, and your power weapons, you'll reroll ones.
Yeah.
So I think it's good. I think it makes Dreadnoughts good, and Terminators and Terminator armored units, again, like it really helps them become more reliable. And I think as you go through it, it's all about kind of making your units more reliable at the things you want them to do.
Yeah, it's interesting actually that, because you know, if you think about their top units, Deliverers with Ravens Talons, which we'll look at later, or Dark Furies with Ravens Talons, that's not going to benefit them in any way. But those examples that you cited, you know, power weapons, power axes, you know, just being able to reroll ones is just massively useful. And actually, you know, so often you would, you know, to wound on a Dreadnought, you have 3 dice.
Yeah.
And you roll 2 ones just because the dice aren't with you. You know, being able to reroll those just makes your Contemptor better than your opponent's Contemptor, I think.
Yeah, what I wouldn't have given in so many scenarios where I could re-roll a 1 to wound of a bloody Dreadnought.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And then models with Raven Guard special rule and the cavalry unit type of both the vehicle unit type and flyer or fast unit subtypes gain the Hawks special rule. And Hawks is any model with this special rule gains the Shrouded 6-up special rule on any turn in which they run, move flat out, or move as a zooming flyer, with the best benefit lasting until the start of the controlling player's next turn. Or if that model would already gain the Shrouded special rule, Shrouded 6-up special rule, it gains the Shrouded 5-up special rule.
Okay,
that strikes me as less good.
So you can't stack a Shrouded. What they're saying is you can't have a reaction Shrouded, an evade,
correct,
and then stack it with that, and then have a 4-up, right? The max you can get is to a 5 plus.
Are there many instances where you have cavalry that are running?
So this rule, in my opinion, is almost worthless.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. So
to know that we're on the same page.
We're all on the same page.
As a layman, I look at this and go, this is a waste of words.
Absolute waste of time. So again, cavalry used to get Furious Charge, and I think, what I do for Furious Charge rather than this, because if for bikes and jet bikes, if you run, you get the 5-up Shroud anyway. You don't need this rule. For javelins, they're heavy, so they can't run. For Proteus, if you run, you can't shoot. And I think the only thing that really benefits from this would be zooming flyers.
How many times have you played zooming flyers, Mark?
Against or with?
With?
Yeah. With none.
With none, correct.
With none. So it's a shame. I think we don't need better speeders. I think the other rules are absolutely amazing. So I won't complain too much. But they could have saved themselves 4 lines.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
Sorry, John. Go for it. Go for it.
No, I was just going to make a joke about. Are you saying that this paper could still be trees?
Yeah, it's a nice picture.
It is interesting because I said about Mark's list where he was basically taking jet bikes and skimmers and things like that.
Where you're basically getting no buffs.
But it's interesting that you can see Raven Guard players going, I'm going to take a certain kind of list because my list will get the most amount of benefits from it, and I'm not going to take things like jet bikes because there's not much point.
Are you saying, Rob, that you now want to build a Raven Guard Fury of the Ancients list?
I'm not quite there
because I am. I've got 4 of the original 4 Raven Guard contenders.
Oh, nice.
I'm very much thinking that.
Okay, that's very cool.
We've already skipped over. We're just going to go quickly back and look at the advanced reaction. Do you want to talk us through the advanced reaction, please, Mr. Mark?
Okay. So once per turn, when you're shot at, I'll kind of shorten it. Once per battle, I won't read it all out. You get to move up to the highest initiative in your unit, and that's in any direction. And then you gain 4 up Shrouded for the remainder of the turn. So not the shooting attack. Not the phase. For the remainder of the turn, you gain 4 up Shrouded.
But interestingly, the last line does differ from some other movement-based reactions, which is if the shooting attack is no longer valid, e.g. due to the enemy unit no longer having line of sight, for example, then the active player may not select a different target unit and no attacks are made.
That's savage.
Yeah. That is the savagery, I think, to be honest with you, because you can really bait out an opponent's harsh unit and then just nip it behind a wall or a building or down a hole, and it's either going to get a super duper save or it's just a completely wasted attack. I think this is
it's really underrated. I think I get, like with most things, Raven Guard. And
I think this is the thing, right? This is the thing that I'm noticing already, is the fact that the whole army just seems to sort of, from the very beginning of the edition, just seems to have sort of flown under the radar a little bit. Ironically, exactly how the Raven Guard like to conduct their things, flying under the radar. But this is low key top tier.
I think this is great. I think you can use this in a variety of ways. I think you can use your 5. One thing I like to do, if I start with my Dark Furies on the board with, say, a chaplain, and if they get shot, they move 5 inches forwards.
Yeah,
and then you've got we'll talk about them more later, but you've got a very long movement, and then you've got a decent charge range as well. So you're probably going to get a first turn charge. You can move 5 inches away, 4 inches, 5 inches away to get yourself out of danger. You can duck behind walls. The any direction of it really kind of opens up that tactical flexibility of it again.
It's nice as well, the fact that in theory as well, you can obviously like sort of almost double react. You can react with the same unit in different phases, just not twice in the same.
That's
phase.
Correct. Yeah, that's
that's what I thought. Sorry, I've had a very long day.
So you can move forward, move forward in the movement phase,
and then potentially again in the shooting phase. Sling a shot your way at the board. Not that they need it, but there you go. I think again, this is good, but it's all about what I think that the thread that I'm picking at already is the fact that there's some real finesse with this army. Really, it's the thinking man's army.
Yeah, I think that the other thing is that I suppose that your placement of units is going to be quite important, because if you haven't yet used this, because you might be like, well, I need to jump near this building in case I get shot, because then I can just hide behind the building at my initiative 4, initiative 5, or whatever. So I guess placement of your units before you use this reaction is going to be something you need to be cognizant of. Really cognizant of. Very good. Wonderful
stuff. So let's get into the rights of war. Now, not the rights of war, the warlord traits. And what I'm a big fan of is the fact there is a traitor only and a loyalist only warlord trait as well. So I think this is already gives you an idea as to kind of some interesting ideas and thematic list building as well. So we start off with the loyalist only, which is the Bane of Tyrants. So this warlord trait may only be selected in a model with the loyalist allegiance. This warlord Increases its attacks and strength characteristics by 1 when engaged a challenge, and by 2 when engaged a challenge with the enemy warlord. In addition, a number whose warlord has this trait to make an additional reaction during the opposing player's assault phase. So it's just good, right?
It's just
Like +1 attack, +1 strength in a challenge, or if you're, again, leaning into some more things when we talk about overlaps, when we get onto some of the rights of war, this is great. I take it, is this one that you tend to use often, Mark, or?
At the start of the edition I did, I had a Praetor with a Paragon Blade, and this is great because he can go to strength 6 or strength 7 if he's got the Warlord. And if we think back to the Falcon special rule, he's going to re-roll those 1s when he's charging, so he'll hit on 3s, 4s maybe, and then on his strength 7, we get to re-roll those 1s.
Just all going through, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, all going through. Assault phase reactions can be good as well, depending on who you're playing. But yeah, like I think with Raven Talons, he gets even more attacks again as well. I think up to 9, I think, potentially on the charge, which is pretty crazy.
And is the Talons linked to his base strength, is it? It's not like a flat strength?
Yes.
Oh, right. So strength, and then, okay, so it would be strength 4, then go up to strength 5 or strength 6.
Or strength 6, yeah.
Whoa, yeah, that's loco. Yeah, that's really good.
So paired with a Moritat,
yeah,
with his radiation grenades, away you go.
Yeah.
Why don't you, Mark, take us through the hidden hand?
Okay, so while a Warlord with this trait is in reserves, the controlling player may choose to reroll all failed reserves rolls when deployed to the battlefield, the Warlord and models in the unit he has joined gain Fleet 2, and you get an additional movement reaction.
Okay, so this is going back to what you were saying, actually, Mark, because actually this is one I've seen you use quite a lot, because you will often have a squad of Dark Furies with your Warlord, and then we'll get to the Dark Furies later on, but they obviously have super duper jetpacks that make them +3 movement, and then plus adding the fleet on top of that. They're gonna 9 times out of 10 make their charges, right? Like wherever they got to charge to, they're going to make their charges. And being able to re-roll and then the Fleet 2 on top of that, it's just asking to go with Dark Furies or asking to go with Deliverers, right? Because they've got Deep Strike. So yeah, really great combination of those two.
Yeah, I think again it goes up to that reliability. It probably frees up HQ slot from that marshal signals as well, because you're not requiring him to kind of get that re-roll. And yeah, Fleet 2 is on a high movement unit usually, or on a outflanking unit is great.
You'd have to be really unlucky to fail a charge, wouldn't you? Yeah, really, really unlucky with that.
And Rob, why don't you take us through No Gods or Masters?
Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of say on this one as well. So we've done a whole kind of like fluff video, but there were quite a large cohort of the Terran or the veterans of the Raven Guard who had fought previously with Horus, and their loyalties were kind of like split. And to some extent, this goes in with some of the lore behind the Deliverers as well. But those veterans were quite terrifying, and had learned the ways of war of the Lunar Wolves. And I suppose that this harkens back to that. These guys have got split loyalties, and after Isstvan 5, they're just going to blaze their own trail. And maybe they joined with Horus, maybe they didn't. But I think it's really cool.
What I'm seeing here, by the way, viewers, is I've known Rob for a long time, and what he is doing is he is sowing the seeds for an absolute dick kicking allied detachment for his Sons of Horus.
Yes, yeah. So in base-to-base contact with an enemy infantry or cavalry model whose weapon skill, strength, or initiative is higher than his warlord's, a warlord with this trait increases their weapon skill, strength, and or initiative to match those of the enemy model with the highest value in that characteristic that it is in base contact with. That's really interesting, actually, because you would purposefully go hunt kind of particular units to go, I want to match this, so therefore I'm gonna go after you. That's good. That's quite cool. And then once per battle, you may make a single reaction without spending a reaction point of the controlling player's reaction allotment, as long as the reaction is made by the warlord or a unit the warlord has joined. So yeah, that's interesting. So it's once per battle, I guess it gives you flexibility, but you're not getting it consistently. Am I right in saying that? Yeah. Okay. So maybe not as attractive as something like the hidden
I
hand.
mean, I must say, hidden hand, given the way that I've tended to see Raven Guard being played, I think the way that, Mark tends to play, and I think certainly as we go through the list and the list entries, the way that you I think a lot of people see themselves playing this army, hidden hand is so useful. As Mark says, you can free up potentially your marshal signals slot, and you like fleet 2 is just wild.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I mean, the hidden hand gets my seal of approval.
I think they've all got their place. I think no Gods or Masters is quite cool, but I'd be tempted, even if I was probably running a Traitor Raven Guard army, I think I'd still probably take hidden hand if I'm being
I think having the problem with this thing about single reaction is that, if your opponent gets 5 additional reactions to your 1, that's the thing as well. So I think that's just something to bear in mind. So
there'll probably come a time once when situation is absolutely brilliant.
You're like 100%.
Okay,
cool.
so there are 2 unique rights of war. Now, would we say that there is one we tend to get seen more often than not?
100%.
And why is it to decapitation strike?
Because it is so darn good. Before we just go into these, it's interesting. So neither one of these rights of war says that they have to be
Loyalist or traitor.
Sorry, no, it has to be used in the primary
detachment.
However,
here we go. I told you, didn't I? Sowing the seeds, everybody.
But there is a paragraph of text above this which I didn't place, which says that this always has to be in the primary. It can never be tragic. I know it can never be chosen as an allied right of war. So yeah, just be careful on that one, because that's, I think, caught a lot of people out because they go straight to the limitations.
I think we had this weirdly when we did the allied detachments episode back a year or so ago, when we were like, it's just not consistently in the same place. In some rights of war, it says this can only be used in the primary detachment, or it might say this can only be used cannot be used in an allied detachment. It's just some consistency, please. Giveth with one hand and they taketh away with the other. Okay, so I'm going to let you, Mark, take us through decapitation strike.
Well, with pleasure. So all models with the Legion Astartes Raven Guard in the detachment gain preferred enemy independent character special rule. And then all models in the detachment performing a deep strike assault gain the Shrouded 5-up special rule for the duration of the game turn in which they are deployed to the battlefield. And then in missions that use victory points, an army that includes the detachment, that's the army. So if you have allied detachments as well, that may do other things. You gain an additional 2 victory points for the Slay the Warlords secondary objective. And then the limitations are you may only take a single heavy support choice, and you can't take fortifications if you were for some reason thinking about doing that.
What does he do?
Yeah, it's really interesting to me, this, because not only is it a good right of war, but the second bullet point about the fact that you've got a Shrouded 5-up, combined with the hidden hand warlord trait, combined with the fact that Dark Furies can deep strike or Deliverers can deep strike, combined with the fact that then they can get Fleet 2, combined, and then there's so much overlapping stuff. It's kind of forcing you to go in a particular direction, I think, because all the buffs are kind of signaling, play it this way, play it this way, play it this way. And when you do play it that way, it becomes a really unstoppable kind of like, right of war. But as we said before, Shrouded 5-up. So, the infantry models without jump packs, they get Shrouded 6-up. But now your guys deep striking, it doesn't matter so much because they get to reroll 1s and they get now they're Shrouded 5-up. So it also kind of overlapping loads of these buffs, which are so useful.
It's absolutely what I think. Shrouded, I think if we're being honest, I personally think Shrouded is 9 times out of 10 is better than a Feel No Pain, chiefly because there are very, very few things. There are significantly fewer things that ignore Shrouded then there are things that will double out something that's toughness 4.
Yes.
And that's why I think it is so useful. And it's not just like it's every unit that arrives by Deep Strike gains Shrouded 5 up.
Yeah.
It's just, and let's be honest, you really, I think when we get again further into it, I'll stop myself saying that too often, but it's getting them there. It's getting the guys to arrive on the board and into your opponent's lines. And at that point, it's just like, it's feeding time for the Ravens. There is so few things that can stand up to them once they're in and amongst your lines that actually you just need to get them there.
Can I ask as well? So with the first bullet point, so preferred enemy wouldn't be that useful on, say, Dark Furies because, it wouldn't be that useful on the wounds because you're re-rolling anyway. But on the hits, that's going to be massively useful if you're going against a unit with an independent character in, right?
Yeah, I think the way I kind of think about this Rite of War is here's a thing you want to do, which is take out your opponent's HQs because they're usually in the good units.
Mm-hmm.
Here's some bonuses to help you do that, and here's a nice reward when you get there as well. It's great. I think that it's a minor limitation having one heavy support choice. It probably forces you into taking the more optimized ones, perhaps. And it's just so flexible. Other than that, it doesn't really force you into a particular way of fighting. You could take an assault marine army. You could take an entirely infiltrating army. You can, as I tend to do, take more of a blend. It's just great.
Yeah.
All over.
Yeah, really good. Yeah.
On the Shrouded, I would just point out it is the game turn as well. So not only do you get that against Intercept, you also gain that against Overwatch.
Yeah, tasty. That's brilliant.
So good. So good. Rob, do you care for Liberation Force? You want to take us through it?
Yeah, I'd love to. And I suppose that this is I guess become more prevalent now we have classic Solar Auxilia. And are you planning on running this at the weekend? This one, Mark?
Not this weekend, unfortunately. The painting.
I'd like to win all my games.
The painting mountain has defeated me, unfortunately.
Never mind.
It also as well. If we're talking about fluff, so we're running our Solar War event this weekend, which is obviously themed around the Solar War, and this particular Rite of War, from a fluff perspective, is we're in the far-flung reaches of the galaxy, liberating crappy little backwater planets. We're focusing on cutting off the head of the snake this weekend, which is why Mark is very thematically taken to Capitation Strike.
Excellent. Right. Okay. So Liberation Force. So once per battle at the start of any game turn, the controlling player may choose to have all models with the Raven Guard special rule in attachment using this Rite of War gain the Stubborn special rule for the duration of that game turn. So that's good. So it could be your opponent might have first turn and you can go, right, I'm just going to have Stubborn in your turn and my turn, right? So that's useful. It's not a player turn. All models from an allied detachment that's part of an army whose primary attachment is using this Rite of War gain the Stubborn special rule. So that's just all the time, whereas the Raven Guard are specifically one game turn. And then all models in a unit composed entirely of models with the Raven Guard special rule gain the Hatred Everything special rule, while at least one model from that unit is within 6 inches of any model from an allied detachment in the same army. Ooh, that's really good. So you might want to pair units up together in order to benefit from the hatred.
It is just better. If you want to run Shattered Legions, here you go. Don't mess around with the Beta Garmin book rules. Just do this and make the Raven Guard the primary.
Well,
careful because we need to get to the limitations first. So
what?
Attachment using this Rite of War may not include anything with slow, heavy artillery, bombard, or automated artillery subtypes. I think that's not going to be too much of an issue. Although you couldn't take any deliverers in this Rite of War.
No deliverers, no rapiers, no javelins, no heavy support squads.
All the things I love.
All the things you love.
Yeah, and it must be a loyalist. This must be the primary attachment, and then unfortunately, John, this is the kicker. So the allied detachment has to be made from Solar Orcs or Imperialis militia.
That's right. You can take multiple allied detachments anyway. And let's be honest, an allied Solar detachment is 300 points, if that?
Yeah. Yeah, we got to have at least 4 units,
units.
it says there.
Kittens.
Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. 4 units of absolute chuds.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Bare bones mooks.
Yeah, okay, cool. I think it's interesting. This is not obviously as good as the decap strike, but I'm sure there's some fruity things you could do with pairing units up and gaining hatred if you want quite a close combat force. I just think that, if you think all the best units that they have, you can't take deliverers, and then Dark Furies are going to be charging so far ahead of your Solar Auxilia that your Solar Auxilia are going to really struggle to keep up unless they're kind of like in a light Hermes or something like that, right?
Or loads of Ogrins in a Stormlord.
Or loads of Ogrins in a Stormlord. Yes, correct.
Loads of cavalry running around as well. Like there are
loads of
options.
horses. Shit tons of horses.
Is there anything that we're missing about this, or do you think it's just basically not as good as Decap Strike?
I mean, Decap Strike is so good. It's such the obvious choice.
I think the thing with Decap Strike is the fact that it's the additional VPs.
Yeah.
Yeah, as well. Yeah.
Unless, of course, Slay the Warlord isn't in play. But when is Slay the Warlord not in play?
Very rarely. I like the Liberation Force. I think it's great. I think with Solar Auxilia being around in plastic, you'll see it more. You can just take a little detachment. I think remembering that we've all talked about this elsewhere. Rapiers for Solar Auxilia are quite good. So it probably you get quite a few of those in.
We talked about it over the Patreon actually, Mark. If people want to head over to the patreon.com/heresyhammer and check out Minor Rob's deep dive on Solar Auxilia there. So here's a question for you: do you think Liberation Force is a way of potentially for people that want to sort of tone the army down a little bit, or play a different way, or
definitely play a different way? I think you can still get all of the good units apart from deliveries and etc. in. You still get your Dark Furies. You still have your Mordathan. Probably, I think the way I think of it is more of like a hammer and anvil approach. So the Solar are your anvil, and then the Raven Guard kind of come in and sweep round and do their thing. I think one thing to point out is the new rules for Solar Auxilia getting their bonuses. If they can see a Raven Guard unit, they gain +1 leadership. So they'll be stubborn for the most part. Stubborn at least
12.
8. Yeah, you can get up to stubborn 12 if you really want to. Like you can. I think even if you had a command squad without a marshal, you can get to stubborn 10. So you don't need to kind of go for the reborn cohorts to get that stubborn as well.
That is absolutely fantastic. Really nice.
And you get to use all those nice new plastic solar models as well.
You're not shifting those guys off objectives, are you?
No.
Not with stubborn 12.
Not with a massive load of Raven Guard pinning you into your deployments. Right?
Yeah, man alive. Yeah, that's crazy. And actually, it's Liberation Force becomes, again, it's like the whole thing that we've seen so far, which is just overlap. The new Beats Garment book comes. Oh, there's some more overlap on top of that as well. So, yeah, really interesting.
Okay, we're going to take a very short break for a very short wee, and we shall join you again in a very short while.
Indeed.
Okie doke. So let's kick off with the fun stuff. So the Raven Guard have access to some very cool and unique war gear options that we're going to go through now. So we're going to start off with the Raven's Talons. So these are a big lightning claw, essentially, yes? Big thumbs. Big thumbs. So what makes the Raven's Talons so cool? Don't worry, we'll tell you. So any model that has a lightning claw option may upgrade that weapon to a Raven's Talon for 5 points per weapon. When a model has 2 Raven's Talons, a model gains +2 attacks instead of the +1 for using additional weapon in combat. Very, very good. So what does Raven's Talons do? It's a strength as user, but like we said, you can potentially combine this with other things to buff its strength, like warlord traits, etc. It's got an innate AP of 3. However, it has got melee, shred, always useful, rending 5+, and specialist weapon. So obviously you can pair a single potential Raven's Talon with another specialist weapon to get an additional attack if needs be. But you're always going to take this as pairs, aren't you? Are you ever going to not take them as pairs, Mark?
I personally wouldn't. I've had like people doing, I think Thunderhammer or Paragon Blade and Claw. I think just for simplicity and the extra attack, you go for the pair.
I could see a situation where somebody takes a command squad and takes Breach of Shields and a Raven's Talon. So it makes them super survivable. You're losing attack per guy, but you're gaining the benefit of a 5+ in run save.
Yeah, I'm a man that likes dice, so I'm just going to go double Talons.
There was another clue into Rob's allied detachment there as well.
There you go. I feel a plan is forming.
You know what I love about this, and this is the right choice that they've made, which is it's a specialist piece of war gear that can be upgraded for every Lightning Claw. It's not limited to characters. So your vets can take them, your command squads can take them. Like, they are a really good weapon, and there are going to be obvious places where you will just always have them. But I think that the flexibility, I just think it just makes a command squad so much cooler that they can take that specialist war gear. Have you considered doing a command squad with Raven's Talons at all, Mark?
I've got a Terminator command squad that I'll be taking this weekend for Mortalis.
Excellent.
Raven's Talons. I think the shred and rending 5+.
Yeah.
Because rending is an auto wound.
Yeah.
As you all know. Yeah. Against dreadnoughts, this is just crazy. Yeah. Like, I think
with the shred as well. Shred. So you're fishing for 5s, rerolling 5s. As a man who likes to shoot with things with sunder, for instance, like, just weight of dice, you're going to roll enough to do the stuff you need to do most of the time.
Yeah. It's loco. It's really good. It's a great weapon. Take as many as you can. Your opponents will get frustrated, but you're there to take the head of the warlord, so who cares?
But what if it's dark, I hear you say? Well, don't you worry. Those Crow boys have got you covered. Improviser, Mark. Go on, what does an improviser do, and why would you consider taking one?
So any model with the Raven Guard special rule and the character subtype, so that's both your HQs and your unit champions, may be given improviser for 10 points. This grants the model night vision and +1 to their ballistic skill. However, blind tests are really bad, the few that you will ever take when you play this game, and you take those at initiative 1.
Can I ask, so what serious threats in the Legion arsenal cause blind? So I assume is that the only thing that causes blind in the Legion list?
Then maybe like an odd special weapon here and there, like on characters, and I think
I can't think of too much. It's
Castellax with
Darkfire Lances cause blind, but I mean, when do you see Castellax with Darkfire Lances these days?
Not often, unless you're playing mech in particular, but certainly not as much within the Legion list. So just to clarify this, so this is also something that I've come across with you, Mark. So this is a really valuable upgrade to have, because for essentially 10 points, you're getting a lot of what the Master of Signals does,
or a Tech Marine,
would do,
or a Tech Marine. So when a model or when a unit contains a model and just one model with night vision, the entire unit gains it. So that's great. I think you will tend to force more night vision. It's 10 points per unit, which I think if you have, say, 10 units, it's going to cost you 100 points. But I think if you think of the impact on your opponent of night fighting, it's huge, and you're ignoring it, and you're ignoring shrouded saves. So again, we're talking about that kind of control and reliability. Your opponent can't evade against a shooting unit. So if you have a unit of melter guns that you've infiltrated up and jumped next to a tank, they're not going to evade to get rid of, a third of those. They're just going to take everything you can do to it.
Of course, because because night vision is just being better than just being able to shoot in the night, as you say. You just you can't evade against me, so or that unit, right? And then just the +1 ballistic skill is such a valuable, you can think on a heavy sports squad, you would buy this on a character and you go, well, I've just saved myself 85 points that I can spend elsewhere because I'm not having to buy a master of signal for that particular unit, right? So massively useful,
especially combined with the hidden hand warlord trait as well. Your master of signals, as much as Rob and I have waxed lyrical over on the Patreon, let's be honest, mixed reception from one particular person out there. We've basically said the master of signals is all but also include in the majority of lists when going to events. If you're a Raven Guard player, you can stash those 100 points back into your pouch to spend on some Ravens Talons.
Yeah, which are no joke. Yeah, it's really interesting. I think the thing is, if you're watching this as well to try and beat somebody who's Raven Guard, perhaps somebody who plays Raven Guard locally, you're going to have to think about in that situation taking contemptors with conversion beamers.
Or conversion beam preds or something.
Yeah, something along those lines that's going to help you to blind that unit. Because am I right in saying that a 1 would be successful, Mark, and then anything above a 1 you would fail the blind test?
Yeah, I don't like conversion beamer dreads, and I'm glad the meta has moved on from them significantly. We'll talk about how to counter them later anyway. But
those 6 weeks when everyone was running 2 contemptors in opposite corners with double conversion beamers are potentially behind this, and the game is better for it. You know who you are. Okay, cool. So they also get a special type of chameleon line. So I seem to remember this being, again, a bit of an auto include in the previous edition of 1.8. So a lot of stuff for chameleon line. Is that correct, Mark?
So yeah, in first edition, this was really good, and we'll just talk through it now. And so any Praetor or Centurion can be given this upgrade for 20 points, gaining the Shrouded 6 up. But this also this in particular stacks with other Shrouded. So for example, it takes like a 5 up to a 4 up, or a 4 up to a 3 up. However, in the first edition, when one model in a unit had Shrouded,
I remember this. They used to be able to cloak the entire unit.
Yes.
Didn't they? They're kind of Harry Potter invisibility cloak.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Whereas now the way Shrouded works, it's on a model basis. So it's a funny one where 20 points, I think for the most part, is too expensive. You can ignore Shrouded, as we discussed with things like night fighting, which is around. And I think the one time you'll want to use it, you'll have a las cannon squad pointing at you with a tech marine standing behind them, going, "It's that guy there."
Yeah.
And so even if you have a 3+ Shrouded, it doesn't matter.
Telekinetic librarians can precision shot.
Yeah. So it's a funny one. I think it hasn't quite made the jump. Probably for the best in terms of that we don't want one model making everyone super kind of dodgy, but or if we did, perhaps maybe 20 points would be too cheap. But I think 20 points for what this does is probably a bit too expensive. I've never taken this. I don't think I've seen a Raven Guard player who's ever taken this.
Seen anybody take this?
I suppose a good comparison is that you could pay for an apothecary for 45 points, which is almost half, and then your entire unit gets a 5 up fill no pain.
Yeah. Or a 4 up if they need an objective.
Exactly.
And unless it's doubling them out, then they can't be negated. So I would be inclined to agree. However, the Corvid pattern jump pack, this is a spicy meatball when we look at war gear options. So this is a special jumpy pack. Any model with both the Legionaries and started Raven Guard and independent character special rules, and with the infantry unit type, may exchange a Legion Warhawk jump pack for a Corvid jump pack for plus 10 points. So basically, if you're buying a jump pack, you've got to pay an extra 10 points, and you can get one with big wings. So, fucking hell!
How much is a Warhawk jump pack though? Isn't it like 20 points per
20
model,
points,
usually?
yeah.
This is 30 points. I can paraphrase this if you don't want to do.
Yeah, no, yeah,
No, you
please,
go,
please,
mate.
please,
You do the
please,
paraphrasing because this is a
Yeah.
lot of
This is
words.
a lot, as with some heresy rules. It's a lot of words to say not very much. So you gain 14-inch move. You gain a 4+ invuln save against dangerous terrain tests. The kind of the stuff about the run, and then you're an additional bulky. So instead of being bulky 2, I think for jump packs you're bulky 3 because you've got big wings.
That's good if you're going against Night Lords, that though, because they're very less likely to outnumber you.
Yeah. And you have the Hammer of Wrath 1, which I think also normal jump packs have. But that's basically what that is.
It's the 14-inch move is what you're spending the points on, right?
Yes. So if you have a chaplain and you put those with your Dark Furies because that's the sort of person you are, then because if you have a normal Warhawk jump pack, your 12-inch move, which is fine, no one's going to complain about that. However, you're going to slow your murder birds down because you're merely gaining a 2-inch additional charge, whereas they would gain a 3 if they weren't there. So every model in the unit has to have the 14-inch movement in order to gain that +3. And if you have a warlord with hidden hand, it becomes +5, which means you've got a 7-inch minimum charge.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And then I'm right in saying that a normal Warhawk jump pack doesn't give a 4-up invuln save on difficult terrain?
It doesn't,
because dangerous terrain is so savage now.
I know.
That having a 4-up
and you're done.
Yeah,
and done.
Having a 4-up invuln save is just massively useful as well. So yeah, definitely worth the 10 points investment for all those extra bits. And yeah, if you play against Night Lords regularly, massively useful just having being bulky 3.
Yeah,
Crikey, what an absolute thing! Speaking of absolute things, here he is, Lord of the Crows, the big Raven himself, Korax. So he is one of the 440 point Primarchs. So it's interesting before we actually get into Korax's rules, because Rob and I have had this discussion about Primarchs a number of times, and typically you tend to find Primarchs fall into one of sort of two camps. Certainly they make them worthwhile taking. They either tend to be on their own a single absolute destroyer, or they're a force multiplier. So I'm guessing Korax falls into the sort of the first category.
No,
or would you say he is more into the second, or
I think he somewhat bridges it.
Oh,
he's not really he's not going to go beat up other Primarchs. He will beat up absolutely everything south of a Primarch, but he also has some decent buffs for your army, which I think we'll get to.
We will. So he has got his weapon skill 7, which is not. I don't think he's quite as high as I would have initially anticipated. Certainly, he's not one of the kind of top tier kind of.
He'll be in decap strike. Presumably, he'll be able to reroll ones against or he'll have preferred enemy, and then because he has a jump pack, I assume he will be able to reroll ones for the wounds as well. Is that
he has? Well, I'm going to jump ahead, but he has shred. So
okay, so it's irrelevant. Okay, cool.
He'd be a 6, strength 6, toughness 6, 6 wounds, initiative 7, which is pretty good, and 7 attacks, which is
great. Yeah, it's really good.
Wild. So he has war gear, the sable armor, the panoply of the Raven Lord, the Corvidine pinions, wrath and justice, and frag grenades. And then he's got some cool rules. He has got hit and run, which is wonderful. Hit and run is the one. He can also deep strike. He's got deep strike as an innate ability. And as we know with things like decap strike, it's really very good. Very, very good indeed. His warlord trait, has the rule, the Shadowed Lord. And he's obviously loyalist.
He also has skirmish, so he gains +1 in...
has got skirmish.
Gains +1 in cover as well.
That's
good. That's good.
Okay, right. Let's do the rules. Let's start with his warlord trait. Rob, what does being the sire of the Raven Guard do for one?
Okay, so all models with the Raven Guard special rule and either the infantry or cavalry unit types in the same army as Corvus Corax gain the Scout and Crusader special rules. In addition, an army with Corvus Korax gains an additional reaction of the opposing player's movement phase as long as Korax has not been removed as casualty. I'm just going to read this again just to get my head around this. So all models with the Raven Guard special rule and either the infantry or why does it say
Cavalry.
or cavalry? Do you have to give it to one of them, or
No,
is it just all of
It's
them?
just you can't be a dreadnought.
You can't be
vehicle.
you can't be a tank or dreadnought.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Okay, but it really means infantry and cavalry rather than infantry or cavalry. There,
I think it's big. You can't have infantry and cavalry. I think
There's no such thing as an infantry
yeah.
and cavalry. There's nothing that's got an infantry cavalry unit.
Got it.
It's okay. Rob is poorly, everybody. So
I just want to
blew out of the brain.
But so that means if we take like an all bike list, right? Then
They all gain
bike
scout.
list would gain scout and crusader.
Yeah. Yeah. So funnily enough, actually, I was thinking for my jet bike army, because he's not infantry, you can take him in a Sky Hunter Legion and give the entire army scout, which would be quite fun.
Yeah, that would be a really interesting combination, actually. I was just thinking that because he's very fast, right? You can see him deep striking, and the Raven Guard need a leg up for their kind of like cavalry units anyway. I think so. Kind of like doing that, I think, is a good option. Yeah, but just having the info, because basically what you're saying now is that you're not only do all your infantry or most of your infantry have infiltrate, they've now got scout on top of that as well, which is so useful.
Especially sorry, Mark.
So I think that's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Like augury scanners, like cool, good job. You've wasted 10 points to push me back. I'm 12 inches away anyway.
Yeah.
Or like. Yeah, I think deployment shenanigans in general are great, and when you get both of them for your entire army, it's just. I mean, the deployment phase can take an hour, but after that, it's going to be quick.
Yeah.
Because it's not infantry. It's not excluding like heavy. Like your cataphracti can also gain the scout special rule as well. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then that presumably means anything in a dedicated transport that it would then confer on. So your land raiders are now scouting up however many inches, right?
Yeah.
And also as well, in the modern 4-turn games where we see progressive scoring, say from the first player turn, just being able to jump onto all of the objectives and then just essentially just focus on secondaries, especially if you're running decap strike, where that Slay the Warlord secondary is sort of so important. It's just wild, guys. Absolutely was. Instantly, he's worth 440 points before we even look at anything else.
Yeah.
Especially compared to someone like fucking Perturabo, the useless bastard.
In the wrong book, isn't he?
He's rubbish. He's so rubbish. They made him so. Just give everything deep strike and make him cold blooded again. So sad. Anyway, Sable Armor provided 2-up and then a 4-up invulnerable save, and also Shrouded 4-up. So a lot of the time he's going to have a 4-up, 4-up.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Absolutely wild.
Yeah, really, really nice.
So because he's fearless, he can't use, which is weird, the Raven Guard advanced reaction. He's not allowed to use that because it would give him a shrouded save, but he gets it anyway. So that's all good.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So if Korax chooses to use the hit and run special rule, the controlling player rolls an additional dice when determining the distance moves and discards any one of the dice that the player chooses before determining the final result. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, really reliable.
In addition, the controlling player may reroll all failed shrouded rolls of a 1 made for Korax and all models that any unit is joined after using the hit and run special rule to remove Korax from ongoing combat. This effect continues until the start of the controlling player's next turn.
Is this useful? Is it useful, Mark, this one?
Yeah, hit and run's nice. I think if you've got into a prolonged combat or if you've been charged on your opponent's turn, hit and run's great. And then the rerolling failed shrouded saves, I think it would be for him. I can't think of a scenario after the FAQ where a unit with him would gain shrouded. But I mean, rerolling like a third of your failed shrouded saves is great. It makes him a lot more survivable than you'd think.
Yeah, especially with such, Primarchs are such a huge point sink as well. So, and they typically tend to be worth so many points because they're a Primarch.
Yeah.
So, the Panoply of the Raven Lord. Do you want to run us through this one, Mark?
Yeah, so strength of user, which is 6, as we know, it's AP2, and he has shred, blind, fighting style, and it's two-handed because it's on both his hands.
Okay, right, interesting. Okay.
And the fighting style and you choose this at
So essentially,
start of each phase.
this is a massive pair of Primarch-sized Raven's Talons, right? Which
Yeah,
is probably
big claws.
explains why he's got 7 attacks on his profile.
Yeah, I think that's been included there.
Yeah, no, I would have thought it would have done, certainly. So
yeah, so you either get Murder Strike 4+, Rage 4, or Sudden Strike 3, which would take you up to Initiative 10.
Initiative 10.
Although 2 of these do rely on you getting a successful charge or not multi-charging. So if someone holds the line, for example, you can't use Rage or Sudden Strike.
Don't worry about it. You just use Murderous Strike instead.
Yes. Murder Strike means that he absolutely minces multi-wound dreadnoughts, mostly contemptors. I think Leviathans, he's kind of chasing 6s, so it makes him a bit less reliable. But against 5s with Shred, as we've talked about Raven's Talons, I think that's
does
great.
it? Because we had this debate recently. We are all under the impression, and from what we have heard from people in the know, Murderous Strike behaves exactly like Shred.
Like Rending.
So, which is why
like Rending, he means.
Khan is also such an enormous absolute mother trucker, because any 4s are auto wounds regardless of toughness.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think it depends how you guys play it. So if you guys watching at home, let us know in the comments below. We've had a big debate about this. I think in general that our friends our friends kind of play Murder Strike as an automatic wound. Some people don't, some people do. Let us know. But despite that, though, both are really good. It's interesting as Raven's Talons, though, it doesn't have rending. So it doesn't all like automatically wound on, say, like a 5-up.
Yeah.
Which would lead me to conclude that the Murder Strike 4 would be an automatic wound, because it's kind of like you kind of need that for the whole vibe of the Raven's Talons. But
yeah. I think as a fluffy bit, who he really loves to play is Gal Volbak, because he minces them, and that harks back to Deliverance Lost.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's really really cool. Love that. It's brilliant.
Ooh, so we've then got Wrath and Justice. So he's also, not only is he a mega murderer, he's also a Wild West gunslinger as well. So Rob, do you want to take us through Wrath and Justice?
Yeah, so it's 12 inches, strength 6, AP4. Yeah, all right so far. Pistol 1, so you only get 1 shot. And it's rending 3+, so that's really, really nice. A deflagrate, and it's mastercrafted. So even though you get 1 shot, you can re-roll any.
Also nice to know as well, they count as both an auto and a Volkite weapon. So obviously for
they're 2 separate weapons. Oh, you get 2 shots.
Yeah, 2 shots.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
But because
both
they both
of those
count
are mastercrafted, and re-roll both of them.
But also as well, there are certain instances where, for instance, there are certain legions and or units that, for instance, have preferences to being shot by things like Volkite weapons, etc. So obviously in that instance, it would count as an auto weapon potentially. So that's really, really cool.
I would say it counts as both. So it would be if you're wounded less by Volkite, it would be it would
fair enough. I can see that. I think that's one of those where you could read it either way, and I've read it the other way to you. And what about the Corvidine pinions?
Again, a lot of words to say he's got a 14-inch move and he ignores dangerous terrain. He may still run, which is quite useful because he runs at 7 inches. So he can run, I think he can be up to 21 inches if he so chooses to, but you may not use them in a reaction. So you can't go absolutely crazy amounts.
Is there the argument to say that Korax might be best deployed on his own?
I would certainly agree. I think what I would tend to do is deep strike him with a unit of Dark Furies and then split them off after that first turn. So drop them down, they gain Fearless, which is quite nice. He can tank on his Shrouded and Invulnerable save, which he'll save like 80% of the time. And then the Dark Furies can go murder one thing and he's great at murdering units. It absolutely will just anything, you know.
He's a real bully.
He's a real bully unit.
The other thing to say about this guy is that I know that you said he can't obviously benefit from a Shrouded from the advanced reaction, which he already gets. but that reaction also allows you to move your highest unmodified initiative, and that means that unit attached to him could move 7 inches.
7 inches.
So the wording of the FAQ is you can't use a reaction that gives you a shrouded save. So I would say
so no, you couldn't use it.
You can't use it. As far as I'm concerned, you can't use it at all. Other people may interpret that differently, and that's up to them. But I would say that he cannot use it.
Interesting.
You saying we need an FAQ for the FAQ, Rob?
Yeah, it sounds like we do. Yeah,
we just need a good FAQ.
Yeah, it's like wheels within wheels. It's just a
Yeah.
never-ending cycle of asking frequently questions.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we like Korax. I think he's well worth his points, and he definitely goes in the. He is worth taking as a Primarch slot for me. Is it two? It's 2 thumbs up from Mark. Is it 2 thumbs up from Rob?
Yeah, I think he's brilliant. I think he's really, really good.
You could have just said yes. Right. Okay, Mordathan. So let's talk about these guys. Irritatingly, there is only, I think, one way of playing Mordathan now, but we'll see if I'm wrong. So Mordathan are 150 points base, and that gets you 5 guys. It gets you weapon skill 4, BS 5, strength 4, toughness 4, 2 wounds, initiative 4, and 2 attacks with a 3-up save. So they are infantry skirmish, so obviously benefit from being in cover quite a lot. And because they are infantry, they can infiltrate as well, as they'll have that innately built in. And they will also have an innate shroud as well. The Shade is a character, which is quite cool, which is like different. The Shade gets an additional attack and bumps your leadership up to 9. They come with power armor, bolt pistol, a chainsword, and a Astartes pattern shotgun, frag and crack grenades, and shroud bombs, just like a recon squad. And then they have Relentless, they have Scout, and they have Fatal Strike, and that's where the horse shittery comes in. But the fact they've got Infiltrate and Scout, really, really useful. What else makes them useful, Mark?
Yeah, I mean that's great. They can have a rhino as well, so you're going to infiltrating, scouting rhino. If you want to arm them in a couple of different ways, which is possible, you can put them in a rhino. They jump out, the rhino goes off. It can do ramming, be a roadblock, whatever. I think they're great. If you think the best way of thinking of them is veterans, but they shoot rather than do combat. Although because they've got chain swords and 2 base attacks. They're not slouches. They will hold their own against kind of non-combat specialist units. And I think they're great. I think the thing we obviously want to talk about is Fatal Strike.
Shall we do that? Because that might inform how we look at some of the war gear options. Let's go. Let's take apart. Let's disassemble Fatal Strike first, and then we'll reassemble it with some of the war gear options.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Okay. So once per battle, a unit that includes any models with this special rule may declare a Fatal Strike.
By the way, are there any other units that have Fatal Strike?
No, but what I think this means is any characters that have joined also will gain this.
That makes sense, yeah. Cool.
So all models in the unit gain rending 4+, in addition to any other effects the weapons may have. This does not replace or improve rending.
Can you attach a Moritat to them now?
Yes.
Yep.
This is loco. I was just literally there thinking, what would I attach to it? An Armistos, because he can have a master grafted heavy bolter, and now it's rending 4+ or whatever. Like,
but what about a chain firing dual?
Or that, right? Because that's pretty mad. And the Moritat also is Scout as well. So yeah,
they already have Scout as well. But that's
okay, yeah.
So, yeah.
God, damn, that's a horrible combination.
Man, that FAQ, but this cannot be used by any weapons with the template or blast special rule. So important to note that snipers won't gain rending 4+. They keep their rending 5+, but you're shooting at ballistic skill 5, so
interesting.
Still pretty good. If you wanted to shoot a rending 4+, you could just use their bolt pistols if you're close enough.
Yeah, okay.
So. Oh my days. Okay, so basically, for one turn, these become the single most deadly units in the entire game. Correct?
Yeah, I think within 12 inches. So the kind of the best loadout, or the kind of the quote unquote standard loadout that John alluded to, is Combi Volkite. So you have 4 shots per Mordathan, and they are all rending 4 up. Some of them deflag, but you don't get the rending on the deflag.
Do you want to explain just quickly why they're 4 shots? Because a Volkite Charger is actually 2, isn't it? But do you want to
So a
explain
Volkite Charger is 2, and the Bolter itself within 12 is 2. And because of the new rules for combi weapons, you get to fire both of them.
Yeah.
So a unit of 5 pumps out 20, hitting on 2, rending 4+ shots. So you will probably get 9 rending shots, which is usually enough on average to kill a Contemptor. If you take 6 Mordathan, that's probably enough to guarantee you it.
But what if you have a Moritat in there as well?
That will do some work as well.
Yeah, I mean, even I haven't gone to that, but you've put ideas in my head, which is it's the real danger.
Oh my god! So, but they're no slouches as well, right? Because they are. I mean, you can equip them if you don't necessarily just want to lean into that kind of like, here comes me blowing my load, and then fade into redundancy. You can obviously arm them in quite a number of ways. You can give them power weapons.
Can I just stop this just for a second? It says for every 3 models in the unit, 1 may exchange is to start a shotgun for the following. So not everyone can have a Volkite Charger.
No, that's the one above that. Any model may exchange its R-Starts shotgun for the following.
Sorry. I was looking
at really good point that I was actually going to go to. Is the 1 in 3. So you can have, for a unit of 6, you can have 2 melter guns and 4 combi melters, which is a way I like to play with my unit sometimes if I want a bit of anti-tank. So you can have the melters, use the melters on tank, and then you fatal strike with bolters on something else, or you can fatal strike that tank if it's a squadron, for example, and you want to get like a few extra rending hits to try and get some glances.
What about if you were to equip them with, say, flamers, or combi flamers?
Not usable with the template rule, unfortunately.
Did it say that? I'll be honest with you. I have the rule hidden behind my the 3 of us, so I can't actually read it from here.
It doesn't gain it for the template or blast weapons.
It doesn't gain it. No, that used to be in first edition a very common thing. I think they FAQ'd it out towards the end of first edition, which I don't really feel like it's meant to be like a precision strike. Maybe using flamers, unless they had like a special flamer that they attach for that one shot.
Flexible flamer.
Flamers are still potentially quite useful because you get to I think they're a minor combi weapon now, so it is an option. You get the fatal strike on the bolter rounds.
Okay, so to summarize though, so basically Nemesis bolters are not a good choice for these guys, except for the fact that they're BS5. Because you don't gain anything from the fatal strike because you're relying on the rending for the 5 art. So it's much better.
Because you can just give normal recon marines Nemesis bolters and an improviser to essentially make them pseudo BS5, right?
Yeah, but exactly the same, and they gain shroud bombs as well.
It would only be on the sergeant, the improviser for.
Of course, yes.
But the unit gains the +1 BS, right?
No, only the sergeant.
Oh, only the sergeant.
Only the sergeant. No, I mean that would be really good for 10 points.
Yeah,
but it would be unreal for 10
absolutely
points.
Unreal.
You're right.
I don't personally. I use my recon marines partly because they're scoring. I think that's important as well. I don't think it's a terrible option because these guys are relentless and they're ballistic skill 5, so you can kind of move around and snipe. Okay. It's not a bad option. I've seen it enough, and I've used it a few times, and it's just nice. You can have a missile launcher in there as well, and that can gain rending 4 up, which is quite funny. Okay. So yeah, it's not the worst option. I think the most optimized would be the combi Volkite. You can also take combi plasma because then you can kind of get 2 separate sort of rending breaching attacks on a larger squad. So so you can kind of take out 2 dreads. I think what you'll see as we go through is there's a lot of options for taking out Contemptors, and that's partly why them being so popular makes this quite a good legion in this edition.
Okay, so Mordathan, 2 thumbs up from Mark.
Absolutely.
2 thumbs up from Rob.
Yeah, they're
I
right.
mean,
Yeah, right.
I think,
are
yeah.
you okay? Are you actually okay? You're having some sort of stroke.
I think, yeah, I think it's interesting. I think basically you're going to put them into 2 camps, aren't you? You're going to go tank hunting, and you're going to get armor blaying plus a D3 on the rend, which is just going to blow up tanks, which is massively useful. Or you're going to go kind of contemptor or dude hunting with combi Volkite, and those are just the 2 options that are the best.
I think these are really cool. And would you ever consider leaving home without them, Mark?
I always have a squad. I love the models as well. I think they're
They
some
are
of my
really
favorite models.
They've stood the test of time very well. Okay, cool. So we've got 5 thumbs up for the Mordathan because Rob is sitting on the
He's wavering with the last one.
Strange boy. Okay, Dark Furies. So these are, I think, the current boogeymen in, not boogie as in boogie, but boogie. Boogeymen in the game currently. Because for one, I think also much like the Mordathan, these models have stood the test of time. I think these look absolutely cool. I think that I think the nice thing as well with like a unit such as this is you can build up their base a little bit to make them stand a little bit more proud, so they don't look sort of too weird in comparison to like the larger scale Mark 6. But anyway, that is by the by. So they are 150 points again, and that gets you 5 chuds. I say chuds because they're only weapon skill 4 base, but obviously we have ways of mitigating that, don't we, Mark?
Yeah, there are. I think there's kind of 2 ways of running these. I think you either have them in little kind of skirmish units of 5, or you have one big unit of 10. And both of those are great. Yeah,
the Choose of the Slain does bump his weapon skill up to 5. I think that's a nice touch, by the way. Just having like a unit, like a bet. I'm the better, so I'm in charge. Yeah. I've got extra attack, and I'm a higher weapon skill. So I think that's like nice and cool. He's also got artificer armor, whereas the other guys have got crap armor, regular, bog standard mook armor. So standard loadout is weapon skill 4, BS 4, strength 4, toughness 4, 2 wounds, initiative 4, and 2 attacks base. So that's before we look at war gear options with the 3-up save. And then the chooser has got weapon skill 5. And then 3 attacks for leadership 9. So war gear wise, they come with, as we discussed, power and artificer armor, 2 Raven's Talons built in. So as we know, that's going to give them an extra 2 attacks each.
Yep.
Pretty good, pretty, pretty good. So unit of 5, you're looking at putting out like 21 attacks.
Yeah, on the charge,
which is unrivaled.
Yeah,
frag and crack grenades, and then the classic Corvid pattern jump pack, just to make them even more mental.
Do you know what is most mental about that? Is that it costs basically 30 points to buy a Corvid pattern jump packs.
Yeah.
And that like 5 of those jump packs is the same as that unit. Like, and then the unit just gets all those other rules as well. They are the boogeyman at the moment because they are so well costed for what they do.
I would be inclined to agree. So yet again, the Chooser of the Slain is also a character, which is really, really nice. Why guys, just while we always talk about this, why does being a character in a unit benefit? What's the benefit of being a character in a unit?
Just taking challenges if you've got your independent characters there.
And spreading wounds around.
And spreading wounds around.
Which will, I guess we can get to quite shortly.
So they've got innate deep strike, even though they've got one from their their jump pack. Precision strikes 6 up, which is as someone who has played with Reavers quite a lot in the last year, I can tell you that is like, you think, well, whatever, but actually, when it happens, you're like, you're dead. Yeah. Really, really, really good. So especially if you've got a really stubborn, and I don't mean stubborn from the rule, but like a stubborn unit, like 20 assault marines with sat on an objective with an apothecary, the 4-up and vulnerable save, just being able to go, I'm going to claw your eye out first, Mr. Apothecary. You're dead. See you later.
Yeah.
And also sudden strike 1. So you're going to be doing those attacks before they're attacking you back.
So the sudden strike is the best one, isn't it? Because it's always on. Is that, am I right in saying that, or is it only on a charge? That one
only on a successful charge.
Am I talking about reach? Reach is the best one.
Reach is the one that's always on.
Reach is the best one. Sunstrike is when you charge. Okay, cool.
So you can take up to 5 additional Dark Furies for 25 points each, which is a fucking bargain.
What the fuck? I mean, the jump pack is more than each dude. What the fuck?
Well, and the upgrade for the Talons as well. That's like 50 points.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Are we going to have to row back on our is the Master of Signals the best value unit? Rob? What do you think?
Well, best value
a single Dark
Centurion,
Fury is
so
now
is
now the best value unit in the game. But interestingly, so a Dark Fury squad that includes 9 Dark Furies may upgrade up to 2 of those models to choose of the slain for an additional 15 points per model, which you are always going to do, right?
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
Always.
Okay.
So it says it includes 9 Dark Furies, and I think I kind of interpret this one way. I know some people. I think that's 9 and the original chooser.
Correct.
But
that's how I would interpret that.
I've seen it as it's just 9. I mean, I'd never take less than 10 anyway because they're amazing. I
think you would. I personally, that's an enormous stretch to say an entire unit of 9 models, because the chooser of the slain has got a different unit profile with a different name.
Agreed.
So I think it has to be a total of 10 models. I think if you're trying to do anything else, then you are a naughty sausage. Naughty, you're very naughty. You should stop it immediately.
It's interesting though. So you have to get to a full squad before you can start adding in some of to make some of those choosers slain. So that's interesting as well, because that is going to encourage people to always take a bigger unit, I guess, right?
I think that's why I said, wait, you either take it at 5, and they're a skirmish unit, and they'll go after kind of maybe heavy weapon squads once you've baited out a reaction, or you take 10. I don't really see the
There's
value.
nowhere in the middle on there.
No, not particularly.
No.
Three characters is great as well.
Yeah, exactly. So 3 characters is really, really, really useful. So because you can then start sharing those wounds around a little bit more. You can take one on one guy, one on the unit. So you're going to basically be taking 4 wounds that aren't instant deathing you before you're going to start actually losing a model. And I think there is. I think if you're taking a unit of 10 with three choosers, there is almost an argument to say that the standard Dark Furies are starting to feel like ablative wounds for the choosers.
It's a funny one, because at that point the squad is majority weapon skill 4. So I think the thing to say about them is they are absolute glass cannons. They don't really take a lot of punishment back if you really focus on them with like high strength, high AP weapons. Even with the kind of Shrouded they would gain from Deep Strike and things. So that they are great. I'm not going to say they're not. I think they
get at them.
You can get at them if you really focus on them. You can. I think they're great. They're a great fear factor. You drop them in, they're probably going to kill whatever you get near them. I'd certainly put them up there in the camp with Dawnbringers and Loktaras. I think they're all kind of for 10 around the same cost, similar-ish. Although I'd say on an armor 3 unit, like 3+ Space Marines, these guys will absolutely rinse them. Like, without blinking. Like I've charged a squad of 20 Assault Marines with characters, and they've just gone. Without caring too much.
I've been on the receiving end of one of those particular charges. I can tell you, it is an unpleasant experience.
Yeah, they're great. They're a good cost. I'm not going to say they're cheap because I don't want to run that risk.
But they are.
But they probably are. The thing that's holding them back is that they're in fast attack.
Right.
And that is a busy slot, as we have discussed before.
Yeah, especially if you're limited on one heavy, because you're going to go, okay, well, I will take javelins, or or seekers, as your list will show us later on. So so you are. But I suppose I think there's another thing I'd like to discuss on this one, which is how many Dark Furies is too many, because I thought that you could take them in squads of 15, but maybe that was a previous edition. And I think 2 squads of 10 Dark Furies is probably too much. I think if you're playing that, I think you need to maybe have a talk with yourself, I think.
My personal,
here we go.
My personal approach, I would never take 20. I much prefer in my lists variety. I don't tend to take the multiples of the same units. Outside of troops, where you sort of have to. I would agree that 20 is too much. I don't think it makes you as tactically flexible. It kind of forces you into combat.
It's quite a big points investment when you start looking at that as well. Like it's well, I suppose it's not actually for what they can do. No, I'm backtracking on that comment.
It's 600 points for 20. I think personally, I would like to back them up with chaplains each, which puts each squad to 750. And that is beginning to get significant. And the question kind of comes, if you're going to deep strike both of them, like 1 in 6 games, you're going to have a bad deep strike. But they are quick enough that you don't really need to. So there are options. But yeah, I think fast attack is a very busy slot, and especially with one heavy support. Sorry, it's you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself, because that's probably where your anti-tank is a lot of the time.
Interesting. Cool.
Radio. Deliverers. So we've talked previously about how some of the exemplary battles units and some of the legacies units are strangely proportioned in terms of power. How would you describe the deliverers, Rob?
I think everything is great on them. I think they work as a unit. The thing that makes them so deadly, so good, is that loyalist versions of these gain Battle Hardened 1. And it's not like Battle Hardened 1 where with Imperial Fist Huskars where they have to get charged to get it. It's just they always have Battle Hardened 1 switched on. And I think that because of that, this just makes it such a powerful unit. And then when you say, oh, they've also got the Dark Furies as well, you know, it's different. And these guys can each take a pair of Raven's Talons. You can start to see in this situation where the Raven Guard, you know, known for their sneakiness and their snipering tactics, are just an awesome close combat army as well. Like, they are so vicious. But yeah, if the Dark Furies aren't as survivable, then the Deliverers certainly are a survivable choice for you.
Mark, anything else to add?
Yeah, I think what I love about these is I think there was probably a design discussion, which is, what if Dark Furies were really tough as well? And then they came up with these Terminators. I love them. I love the story behind them.
They've got great
fluff behind them.
I think there's some stuff in book 6 about them that's like, you're like, I just want to take these guys. And you look at the rules and you're like, I want to take these guys.
They turn up in Siege of Cathonia as well, and just like teleport in, like, you know, just killing stuff. And yeah, they're great. They've got great options. Raven's Talons, they're Raven's Talons, and this is where I will say it wildly undercosted for 10 points an upgrade, which makes like 50 points for a Terminator for Raven's Talons, which is just stupid. They should be 20. If anyone's listening from the rules writing team, I don't mind paying an extra 50 points that for a squad of 5 that they're still going to be like ridiculous. They can take a multi-melter because they're
how many points is the weekend? 3k, right? It's 3k at the weekend.
I'm not taking
3k.
Oh, fine. Don't worry about it then.
No, that's fine. Apart from in Xenor Talos, but I haven't taken any Talons either. So they can take multi-melter because they're kind of like just staring but better. I think these guys, again, like, it's flexibility. You can get them out to take on tanks if you really want to. They reroll 1s on the charge, so you can arm them with fists or with mauls or axes. You can give them Raven's Talons. I don't take more than 5 because I just don't think you need to. They're great, I think. The Battle Hardened rule, only if you're a good boy though, not if you're a traitor.
I quite like some of these when they did the exemplary battles, that they added these slightly more interesting rules in there. Things like, so we'll come to Korax's shame in a second, but let's very quickly run through why these guys are absolute mother truckers. They are movement 6 because they're in Cataphracti, obviously. Weapon skill 5, which is standard for an elite Terminator. BS4, strength 4, toughness 4, 2 wounds, initiative 4, and 2 attack base. 3 attacks for the Deliverer Chieftain. So they come with a combi bolter and a power weapon. When have you ever seen anyone with deliverers with a combat bow and a power weapon? It doesn't happen, right? If you're doing that, you're doing this wrong.
Yep.
So they are heavy, obviously. They have some additional special rules, namely that they are stubborn. They have deep strike built in. So even if you're looking at Huskars, people go, "Oh my god, Huskars, they're not so ridiculous." You still got to buy them deep strike.
Yeah.
Do a buy a teleport transponder. These guys just free. Have it, guys. In you go. Teleport into the battle. Start making hay. You can take 10 additional, so you can have a unit of 15.
Yeah.
I mean, why are you doing that? It's like people taking 10 siege turrets. It's just mental because 7 will do the work that you need them to do.
Yeah.
I think that's meant to echo the Justarian and the fact that the Justarian can take 15 in the unit.
Yeah. Screw that.
Yeah, I think it's because they kind of operate as one formation, especially in their kind of backstory. They're sent in as a forlorn hope to distract from Korax and all his sons that he actually loves. So I think everything around this is basically they're stubborn because they really want to earn Daddy's love. And yeah.
If you're a complete maniac, you can take a heavy flamer for 10 points. If you're a completer maniac, you can take a Reaper Auto Cannon for 15, which is such a shame because the Reaper Auto Cannon is just, I love it to bits. Or if you need a bit of extra firepower, then you can take a multi-melt for 25 points. They're only obviously BS4, but multi-melt twin links, so super useful. You can exchange your power weapon for a power fist for 10 points or a chain fist for 15. I'm not going to bother about the combi weapons because you're off your trolley if you take them. But as Mark says, 10 points for 2 Ravens Talons. Like that's what your points are going, right? That's where they're going into.
Yep. So one loadout I do like to do with a combi weapon is put one on my chieftain with an improviser. Because he's ballistic skill 5 with a melter gun.
That's clever. Fine. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Don't hate that. It's interesting though. So you can't give them a single Ravens Talon.
Nope.
No. I find that
which is I think where maybe they've messed up on sort of the points cost of this, but
yeah, perhaps they thought that they were giving him a single Ravens Talon for 10 points,
or if it's 10 points per weapon, which is actually, or that you could have, because it's usually you upgrade to Ravens Talons from Lightning Claws.
Yeah.
I think actually like a base deliverer, like 40 points for a combi bolter and a power weapon is fine. Like you need some ablative wounds because no one's going to survive like all 10 or 5 or whatever, or 15 if you're feeling really unfriendly. Then
that's fair enough.
A few, but yeah, Ravens Talons.
So Korax's shame. Very quickly, Mark, in 30 seconds, tell us why this is. Give us the backstory behind this rule. 30 seconds, go.
So these guys were quite close with Horus and the Justarian, so they weren't very well trusted by Korax, which is why the Korax's shame. They tend to be used as, like I said, forlorn hope, like sent into the worst battle zones, basically to distract for the rest of the Legion. So the ones who stuck around with Korax, stick around and really try extra hard to win his love, and the ones who perhaps may have gone into those traitor armies that Rob's going to collect, they really dislike Corvus Korax, and that's basically it.
Love it. So, and again, I like this. I think this is the kind of rules writing that I really like. So essentially, there are 2 additional rules. One if you are a traitor, and then a significantly better one if you are a loyalist. So, if selected as part of an army with the loyalist allegiance, models with a special rule gain the battle hardened 1 special rule. Oh my days! Like, we don't need to go into more details of why battle hardened 1 is so good, but trust me, these guys are absolutely wild. If they're part of a traitor allegiance model, they gain hatred Korax.
Very situational.
I mean, they're a good unit, even like in a traitor.
They are. That is the thing. They are a good unit, but they just turned up. They don't even. They turned up to 12 in a loyalist army.
Yeah.
Additionally, if selected as part of an army that includes Korax, no models with this special rule may deploy within 18 inches of Korax, including when models from this unit enter play from reserves. And Corvus Korax may never join a unit that has any models with this special rule. Very cool. 2 thumbs up for the deliverers. Yeah.
I've had more thumbs they go up. So
I use those for my Alpha Legion Rewards of Treason unit, and even the traitor version saw off like I think some Zenobium along with the Warlord as well, and that was just as the bog standard traitor version. They are so good.
This guy any good, Mark? Cadis next.
Yeah, no,
baby.
we can skip past him. He's
So
No, we
there's
cannot skip past him.
a lot of text here. So let's very quickly run through Cadis next. So here's a Moritat Prime. He is Mr. Moritat. He's got weapon skill 5, BS6. Love that BS6. 3 initiative 5, 3 attacks, leadership 9, 3 up save.
John, he's movement 8 as well. He's an infantry.
He's movement 8. Yes, sorry, we discussed it, but he's movement 8, guys.
What the fuck? It's crazy.
What? Okay, right. Oh, I can't even be asked. Look how many bloody rules he's got. So we're going to rattle through this, otherwise we're going to be here all day. So he's got 2 Fulcrum hand cannon, power armor, refractor field, melter bombs, and shroud bombs. Good. Right. Okay. Now he's got all the rules. He's got in the Legionary Stones started Raven Guard. He also gains the Falcon special rule and no other rules in the Shadow and Fury clause of the Legion, blah, 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 whatever. He's a Falcon. Wonderful. He's got Ill Omened, the Blood Crow, Relentless Stalker. He's stubborn. He's got Southern Strike. He's got Rampage 3. He's Shrouded 5 up. He's got Move Through Cover, Pathfinder. Okay.
He's also light as well, which is important for emphasizing now because we will come back to that for one of his rules, I think Relentless Stalker.
Yes.
Okay, let's quickly rattle through what a Fulcrum hand cannon does. Fulcrum hand cannon are auto weapons for special rules that affect such weapons and possess multiple profiles. When making a shooting attack, the controlling player must select either pinpoint strike or empty the chambers and make all attacks with both weapons using the same profile. So you can't mix and match. In close assault, the point blank profile must be used. So he's not even fighting. He's just bam, bam. Loves it. Note that in melee, Moritat Cadis next fighting with his Fulcrum hand cannon counts having 2 weapons and gains the appropriate bonuses. So he gets an extra attack. So this is really cool because it's a shooty weapon that also has a melee profile. Not like a crappy Custodian Spear. Oh no, this is just a gun held to your head. Okay, so pinpoint strike, range 24, strength 6, AP 2, pistol 1, brutal 2, concussive 1, pinning, and sniper.
Jesus, that's got so many rules, and it's strength 6 and it's AP2 as well. That's brilliant.
It's brutal 2.
And it's brutal
Love
2.
It. And it's concussive 1. Ugh.
And it's pinning and it's sniper.
It's
all good. They're all good.
Yeah. If you like rules, you're going to like this guy.
Yeah.
So he's got empty the chambers, strength 6, AP 4, pistol 6, concussive 1, pinning. So is this guy a prime candidate to go with your unit of men? The guys, you know, the ones with the things. Mordathan.
Yeah.
He can. So he actually has a rule where he can only join, as we can see below that, Mordathan or Seeker squads.
So he's potentially going to shoot 6 times with his empty the chambers that will rend and is concussive and causes pinning.
So that's 12 shots because it's 2 pistols.
2 pistols, yeah. 2
pistols, and the first one is 2. So he has 2 sniper shots, or he has 12 empty the chambers. They're not. It's AP4. I think that's important to remember. So against Space Marines, I'd say largely the first one, but against other less well armored armies, empty the chambers is great.
But again, if you are with him Mordathan and you're using your fatal 4-way round of shooting,
he would gain
then just empty the chambers, just fully automatic, just rip a mag through him. And then when he's holding that gun directly against your head, it's a melee attack, it's brutal 2, precision strikes 4 up, and specialist weapon, but still only AP 4, despite being at literally point blank range. It doesn't get an AP2, which I think is mad, but there you go.
I mean, I think from maybe a logic perspective, but I think from a gameplay balance perspective, him being AP2 in combat would possibly be a bit much as well.
Especially when he's got Rampage 3 as well.
Yeah, he can go up to I think 7 or 8 attacks on the charge if he goes in alone, which is I think kind of his part of his backstory that he just kind of goes around.
That's weird. Like he's got Rampage 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's got Sudden Strike as well.
Yeah,
He's really
and
good.
amongst all those other ones, yeah, he's got those.
This guy is
He's
cold as all hell.
basically the 31st millennium's version of John Wick. Is kind of how
He
I
is, yeah.
imagine him, right?
Yeah, absolutely crazy. I think if you think back to Decapitation Strike and what you're aiming to do,
Yeah.
he also rerolls those ones to wound because he has preferred enemy character. He will probably do 4 wounds at AP2.
And he's BS6 as well.
And
he's also re-rolling those misses.
Yeah. And yeah. So he's likely, I think, more than likely, sort of 90% to score you 4 wounds against the character.
Crazy.
Oh, I love this guy. Okay, so he can't be taken as a compulsory HQ. So, which is interesting because if you wanted to do an allied detachment, then he can't be a compulsory HQ in an allied detachment. And he can never be the army's warlord. He may not join other units except Legion Seeker squads or Mordathan squads. Boo fucking who. So, the Blood Crow, when he makes any attacks as part of a shooting attack, the range of any weapons is not restricted or affected by the night fighting rules, shroud bombs, or any other special rule. Feeling you sneaky Alpha Legion boys. In addition, Moritat Prime Cadis Next never suffers any penalties ballistic skill from night fighting or any other special rules. Always makes the hit rolls using his full ballistic skill, including snapshots, and no model may make shrouded rolls to negate wounds inflicted by their attacks. What?
That is crazy. Do you want to say how that links to light, Mark, as well?
Yeah, so light infantry types can run and normally can run and snapfire, but obviously he just doesn't snapfire. He also shoots at planes, which I have done once at full ballistic skill, with strength 6. And so if they come within 12 inches, they'll get 12 strength 6 shots at them, which I think's great, but
hilarious.
Oh, man, I think I found a new favorite friend. Right, and Relentless Stalker. When deploying Moritat Prime Cadis Next onto the battlefield at the start of the battle, the controlling player may place him in any position on the battlefield as long as he is within area terrain or at least 9 inches away from any enemy model. If he's not within area terrain, regardless of line of sight of enemy models. If Cadis Next is deployed from reserves after the start of the first turn, then he may enter play from any point on the battlefield's edge chosen by the controlling player. If he joins a unit during deployment or whilst in reserves and is deployed as part of that unit, he may not use any of the benefits of the special rule, but instead gains to scout and infiltrate special rules only if the unit he is joined also possesses those special rules.
So it's basically super flexible in terms of like where he can go, and
he's 165 points.
He's a bargain for what he does.
Yeah.
Oh, two thumbs up.
Yeah, he's absolutely great. Again, he's a bit of a glass cannon because he's only got 2 wounds and a 3-up. I really like him with Seeker squads because he gives them shroud bombs. And he's just a real force multiplier for them. I think he's I've almost had to stop using him so much because it was getting a bit sort of one-tracked.
It was a bit much.
Yeah, a bit much.
This is my favorite unit we've seen so far within the range.
100%. Cannot agree with you more. Again, I wish I had more thumbs.
It's just the point blank in close combat. Like I wish there were more I wish Moritats could just like proper John Wick, like like proper, that'd be absolutely awesome. Love it.
What about Alvarex Morn?
He was
that was a
amazing.
rhetorical question, by the way.
He was really good in first edition, right? You tended to see him.
He's really useful, yeah.
Yeah, in the orbital assault that they used to have. You saw him all the time within that list.
Right. Okay, he's 140 points. He's 5 and 5, 4 and 4, 3 wounds, initiative 4, 3 attacks.
Yeah, he's a centurion, isn't he?
He's a centurion. Yeah. He's got a bolt pistol, Toledus, artificer armor, frag and crack grenades, and nightfall pattern Stratovox. He also has Master of the Legion, which is really, very nice, and his own dedicated warlord trait, which is coordinated planet strike. That better be good because it sounds brilliant. He may take a Legion drop pod or a Storm Eagle as dedicated transport. What?
That's brilliant. That's great. That is so cool that he can take one of those. That's great.
What?
He can take it, and then you just attach a unit to him, and then they come down and drop pod. Yeah, sweet.
Yeah,
or a Storm Eagle. Okay, so if chosen as the army's warlord, Strike Captain Alvarex Morn automatically has coordinated planet strikes. So as long as as long as Morn has not been removed as a casualty, the controlling player may re-roll failed reserve rolls for any deep strike assault that Captain Morn is part of. In addition, an army. Ooh. So that means he'd have to go in the Storm Eagle or on his own because he can't. If the drop pod doesn't have deep strike because it's not part of a deep strike assault. Correct?
I think you assign it to a deep
Yeah,
strike
you
assault.
assign. You just assign it. Yeah, you just assign it.
Do you? I thought
Yeah.
it was something. I thought it sat completely on its own. Never mind. Ignore me. Don't play with drop pods. They are the coward's way in. In addition, he make an additional reaction during the opponent's movement phase. So reroll reserves, not bad, but
no, but
great.
the hidden hand, was that warlord trait? That does that as well, right?
And gives you shrouded.
Yeah, but no, that's decapitation.
No, that's
two.
decapitation.
Yeah, fleet.
Apologies.
That's right.
Okay, it's got power weapons. Rubbish. Move on. It's not that. It's strength as used at AP3. It's mastercraft. It's breaching 5 up. It's
that's exactly the sword that Ventanas has. That's just a copy and paste and a change of the name, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about his Strato Vox? What about it? Someone tell me about it.
So while he's on the battlefield, you reduce the distance of any scatter rolls by 5 as long as he's within 12 of that point.
So it's like reducing your BS if you're firing a blast weapon.
Yeah. And then he ignores the -1 penalty for night fighting, which I think you'd probably have night vision in a squad anyway.
Yeah.
I think the scatter rolls thing is quite cool. I think he's a bit of a weird mix of he wants to be deep striking.
He wants to be deep striking himself, but also guiding in a deep strike.
Also guiding. But I think given the way deep striking works, it's only the first unit that scatters anyway.
Yeah.
Because it used to be everyone. So if he was on the battlefield, it made a lot more sense. I think they've carried across his rules, but maybe not carried across in a way that makes sense with the current rules. He's all right. I think
he's a 1 thumbs down, not 2 thumbs down, but he's a 1 thumbs down from me.
I think you can write a Praetor with hidden hand who is basically this guy and better at that. I think that's he's a weird one.
I agree. I don't think this is worth the points, and just get a Praetor with hidden hand. Boom. Done.
Okay, 1 thumb down. We move.
And this is the list.
This is the list.
This is it. Right. This is the 3K list.
I'm going to sit back and I'm going to let Mark talk us through his list. Go.
Okay, so I have my warlord is a Praetor with a Cord Batten jump pack and Raven's Talons. I have a Chaplain with a Cord Batten jump pack and Raven's Talons, and I have Moritat Prime Cadus Nex. This is my unfriendly list. Then going into elites, I have 10 Deliverers.
Ooh, naughty.
Yeah. So on this build, I've gone with the Chieftain with Raven's Talons and 4 others with Raven's Talons. 2 Chain Fists. Both the guys have multi-melters as well. And then 3 Ablative Wound, Combi Bolter, Power Weapon guys. They'll probably have maces.
What was this list written in? I can't work this out.
This is BattleScribe. I can see it's like hieroglyphs, but I can totally understand it. Like I know because I use BattleScribe all the time. Whereas John's just like incapable of understanding the hieroglyphs of BattleScribe.
I did apologize when I sent it,
and it's an iPhone and Quartermaster.
It's interesting to me that you've gone for a mix of, because the temptation would be, I'm just gonna spam Raven's Talons, but it's interesting you've gone for a variety, I think, on this one.
Yeah, I think I get that approach, but personally, if I'm spending 550 points, I probably want that squad to do maybe a couple of things.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
And if you're dropping next to a Spartan and there's something in it you want to kill, the multi-multers can hopefully crack it open first, and then you can charge it because you are allowed to do that now in addition.
Yeah. Okay. So that makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I have a laser destroyer unit with 3 laser destroyers, Usually, it will be accompanied by a tech marine with a cognate signum.
Tech marine's up there. Yeah.
So yeah, I haven't quite worked out whether I think 3 and a tech marine is overkill. Whether I take 2 and a tech marine. So it's kind of a new unit I've brought in. And I used to use Melter gun support squads quite a lot, but I found in certain deployment maps it was just hard to get them to do multiple things. They kind of maybe take out 1 tank, but I think laser rapiers, I prefer the kind of the ranged anti-tank for that. And because you want night fighting, you kind of want the tech marine with the cognate signum. Obviously he stops those pesky shrouded saves.
Yeah, that's true. And also just another one on that is that you're kind of forced to take a tech marine say over a master of signals because you've used your 3 HQs, right? So tech marines is the logical choice here.
Yeah. And then onto troops, I have 2 tactical squads, both with sergeants with improvisers, just bare bones. I don't waste points on tactical squads. And then 2 recon squads, all with nemesis bolters, sergeants with improvisers, and both squads have voxes, no scanners in those ones.
Question.
Go for it.
If it's only the guy with the improviser benefiting from the improviser, but it's the entire squad that can be affected by the nega traits of the improviser, why?
No. The improviser provides night vision, and so the night vision is on the whole.
Confers the whole squad. Sorry,
right. But the ballistic skill 1
only
plus 1 doesn't.
Perfect. Fine. Move.
Yeah. Fairly basic. That's my scoring units. If you're thinking that's not very many, no one shoots them because they're all scared of the other stuff.
Well, you've got 4 scoring units there. To be honest with you, you've got 2 recon squads, which obviously we know can get onto objectives like further up the board as well.
Yeah,
well, they all can.
Got 2 tactical squads for deck chairing on the objective at the back.
I do it the other way around actually, because tactical squads can infiltrate, so they just go wherever they want, and then the recon marines make use of their 72-inch range at the back. Tend to go that way around.
Fair.
But yeah, and then going on to fast attack, we have our Dark Furies. So we have 10. Again, the Battle Scribe format's not very kind for this. You have 3 Choosers of the Slain and 7 Dark Furies. No melter bombs. I don't tend to go for that. I kind of like units to focus on single jobs, so I don't give them melter bombs to go after tanks.
I wouldn't bother personally.
Yeah, I think Talons will probably do most tanks shy of armor 14. Javelins 2. The fairly standard loadout of las cannons, melter. Again, didn't always take them at the start, but I feel like the anti-tank capabilities of being able to get around the side, great. I mean, javelins, they're great. Don't have to talk about that.
They're the best unit. Move on.
Yeah.
Sorry, as in they are just the best unit in the game.
Oh yeah. I mean, this is kind of why Dark Furies. You've got to think about it. How many you take, because javelins are great.
They're so good.
Yeah. And then Seekers. I love Seekers. I love vanilla Seekers. I don't upgrade them. I think their base guns are great. I take 10. They have an augury scanner and they have an improviser on the sergeant. This is who Cairdes next will be joining. I have missed a squad, so I'll pop back to that in a second. Precision strikes 4+, breaching 4+. You are going to kill HQ with Cairdes next and a unit Seekers, and you gain yourself 3 points.
It's interesting.
For in a Siege of Cathonia mission, I think.
It's interesting when I see people take Seekers now, Mark, because I've been on the receiving end of the Seekers, and I'm always like, oh, actually, they're a pretty decent unit. And then when I see people like arm them with combi weapons, I'm always like, why bother? Like, just stick with the Kraken bolter, because you lose the Kraken rounds, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
You have a Magna.
If you have a combi
weapon. And I'm just like, just keep it cheap. Like, just go bare bones, and if you're Raven Guard, stick Cairdes next with them. But yeah, a really cool unit, and the improviser just gets around that whole night vision, or gives them night vision, right? So
I've been waxing lyrical about vanilla Seekers. I think for 200 points, they're an absolutely amazing unit.
Yeah. I agree with you. Could not agree more.
Yeah, I think being in fast attack. I mean, if you take a recon company, you get them in troops, so that gets around them taking up your precious javelin squadron slots. But I think they're great. I've taken them from the start. I think used to in first edition take them with combis, but now just bare bones. I think they're great. I did forget my Mordathan squad. They've got combi vol kites, and they've got an improviser on the sergeant. Again, I don't upgrade armor. I'll talk about why at the end. And then the final unit is a missile launcher support squad. So the sergeant has an improviser and there's an augury scanner in there. I like these guys. I think you could go to las cannons, but everyone does that, so it's a bit boring. And you can just snipe out sergeants and rinse squads with missile launchers instead.
That's the other thing I was going to say, which is that's something that I've seen you do before, which is that you don't take a las cannon squad. What you'll do is you'll take a sergeant out in a unit and then shoot them with the missiles, and then it will just nuke them, right? And these are actually missile launchers are also brilliant at taking down other people's javelins. I mean, that's the other thing. Other thing about them, and the fact that they've got night vision because of the improviser. You're just like, well, you can't shroud against it, so like these are just going to literally like go through you like a hot knife through butter.
Yeah, and they've got flak missiles now, which if anyone brings a flyer, for a laugh.
They're great, aren't they? Strength 7,
unfortunately, strength 7, obviously 10 shots. We'll probably do
not much of a laugh though, is it? Let's be honest.
Not against me, but other people maybe. So the armor thing, I think initially I did, as everyone did in second edition, but then I realized that actually tanking on the sergeant isn't great from a tactical point of view, as well as a gameplay point of view. You can go into that more detail, but you want your sergeants alive because they are the source of your night vision. And so I don't upgrade, and I spend those points elsewhere, probably on more improvisers. If we're honest. And that's why I don't.
So you'd rather just take the wounds on the normal guys and try and leave the sergeant.
Because
it makes perfect sense.
You kind of suffer from the leadership and the shooting and everything else, but you want to keep your sergeant alive, and he's usually the last one to go, unless someone precision shots him out.
Yeah. Do you want to talk us through the tactics of this list and how you would go about kind of like deploying it, I think, in particular?
So this is probably one of the least kind of infiltrating lists I would take. So your heavy support, your javelins, and your rapiers at the very least would be on. If you don't want your Dark Furies to deep strike, they can also go on. That, I think, both ways really works for me with them. But they would deploy, especially if you're first, then your opponent would deploy. And then it's kind of then about getting your Seekers and Caedus Necks need to be kind of within about 30 inches of a HQ, or a unit with a HQ in it that you want to kill. The more Dathan go stand menacingly near a Contemptor, probably with dual conversion beamers because you hate them. And the recon squads kind of set up at the back. The tactical squads go sit a bit more forwards, near objectives, and obviously the deliverers will deep strike because they're quite slow. I think I haven't always done it. I think there's a few cases where if someone's going to deep strike on me, I'll basically form a wall with a bunch of stubborn deliverers. It's like, okay, deep strike in front of them, have fun. I think individually these units don't look like they're going to do much, but together with the layers of the rules,
I don't know.
Well, now that we've talked about them, but I think you can kind of think, well, Seekers, I think they're great. Obviously, I've used them a lot, but they don't get seen that much. There's not a lot of fat on the list.
No, it's definitely it's most optimized, I think. And I think the deliverers just being battle hardened 1 and being 10 of them, it's going to be so difficult to mince through that unit. And then you've also got, because in my mind, you've just got 2 very, very serious threat bubbles from the deliverers and the Dark Furies, and you just can't attack that all at once. And I think the other thing I like about the list is that you haven't got any dreadnoughts or tanks, but you've got plenty to deal with dreadnoughts and tanks. Which I think is really, really cool. And the closest you get to a tank is really the rapiers, I suppose, isn't it? But and then it's interesting about the missile launcher squad, because I can definitely see people being like, oh, do I really want to shoot those? Like, I know that they're not as good as las cannons, which would usually be priority number 1. And it just might leave you alone for a turn on those missile launchers while people focus on other things. But yeah, a really, really cool list. Yeah, love it.
Love that. Bloody hell. I've really enjoyed that.
It's been a tour de force. Thank you
It
ever so
really
much
has.
for joining us on that one, Mark.
Oh, well, thank you for having me.
It's been
we have some other thanks before we thank Mark. Actually, I want to say my thanks for Mark in a second. First thing, I want to thank Bits Monster for also sponsoring us. Bits Monster have a huge range of bits and kits. If you want something from a kit, don't want the whole thing, hit up Bits Monster, visit their web store, and use the code HeresyHammer at checkout for 10% off all Horus Heresy designated items. They have free UK shipping for orders over £25, and they also have very favourable rates of shipping to international buyers as well. Beowulf Miniatures, again, huge thanks to the guys at Beowulf for doing loads of printing for us. They are always super stocked with an enormous range of very reasonably priced bits and bobs to, you know, if you need some, let's be honest, some combi Volkite chargers, as an example, might be worth hitting up Beowulf. Go give them a follow on Facebook and on Instagram and check out their web store. And also BattleBling as well. So BattleBling have supplied some bits and bobs for some upcoming events. They supplied me with a couple of bits to review soon, which I will do. And they do loads and loads and loads of gaming accessories, terrain pieces, additional bits and bobs. If you are, you know, fully fledged 8mm advocates, they've got some incredible stuff for your tiny titans and miniature men. And again, if you use the code HeresyHammer, you can also get 10% off. They've also got a recently updated web store, so go and check that out and see their catalogue of stuff. And then lastly, we've had to make this font so small to fit the Roll of Honor. So these are people who are supporters at our Praetor tier over on our Patreon. If you don't already know, and if you like these kind of more tactical deep dives, then head over to patreon.com and search for Heresy Hammer or patreon.com/Heresy Hammer. You can join the Patreon for just £3 a month, and for that you will get about 50 hours of additional videos so far, and we are adding an extra 2 videos every month for patrons. They tend to be more focused on kind of tactical deep dives, unit in depths. At the moment, Rob and I are going through the Legio Custodes rules in like a kind of a 3-parter where we're looking at the individual units, some list building ideas, tactics, tips, tricks, etc. We've recently done off the Solar Auxilia. We've got loads of other stuff on there as well. All of our event resources, all of the packs, all of the cards that we've created for Maelstrom, all the decks are over there. You can go and download them and use them for your own games, your own events. We've also got the Heresy Hammer Lodge over on Facebook, which is accessible to all of our patrons. And there is stuff going on there all the time, a proper kind of hotbed of hobby action and hobby support. If you've got lists that you want to post in for people to kind of assist you with, anything you want to show off, anything you want to talk about, go and do that. If you want to support us by contributing to our champion tier, we also do a tri-annual giveaway where we can supply some stuff, some vouchers to buy some stuff, whatever you like. And then these fine people have supported us at our Praetor tier. So our Praetors get access to everything we've talked about, plus more, plus also the giveaways and also some exclusive rewards. So at the moment it is our heavy armored flag bearer kit, which you can see over on Instagram or on the Patreon as well. That is time is running out though. However, if you're looking to get your hands
in
on
fact, you can't get that any longer. If you
can you not?
up,
Are we done?
We are done with that. So if you sign up, you'll be getting the next round of goodies, which are currently being made as we speak. But I haven't shown off what they are to people.
No, but we have gone above and beyond, I think.
Oh man, the amount
this latest round.
Oh my god,
yeah.
this getting this thing ready for you guys has been the biggest hassle.
What Rob and I have done is we have emptied out the entire coffers. We have reached behind the back of every sofa and fridge that we own, and we have invested very heavily in some incredible new Heresy Hammer merch. Some of it will be available for purchase, but there is also going to be exclusive stuff for the Praetor tier patrons. So if you would like to get more Heresy Hammer, then head over to patreon.com and you can pledge there. I did notice the other day actually that speaking of things like the kits, I found a couple of spare Castle Crusher bodies the other day.
Oh, nice.
And I had to take them downstairs, put them in a small baggie, and attack them with a rolling pin until they were just dust, because we made a commitment that once they were done and out there,
only 100 would be made or something.
Correct, and there would be no more. So that's saddened me enormously. But the biggest thanks has got to be to Mark for giving us his time and expertise this evening. I think you'll all agree that he has really stoked the fires of the crow. So if you are sat in your darkened room watching this and you're getting your ass handed to you on a weekly basis by those inferior legions out there, and you're sitting there painting your nails black in your tight Dare t-shirt, listening to Thursday, then just get Quartermaster out. Don't bother with Battlescribe. Get Quartermaster out on your superior iPhone and write yourself a Raven Guard list.
Love it.
Anything else to add before we bid everyone a fine farewell?
No, just thank you again, Mark. That's been brilliant. A real tour de force of Korax and his Ravens.
Yes. Before we go, one last plug. If you're posting whips, models, anything you're interested in about Horus Heresy over on Instagram, please use the hashtag HeresyHammer. We are going to be going through and selecting a whole bundle of our favorites for our kind of new correspondence special. Obviously, if you've got all this way through and you're not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. It helps us out enormously. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. Leave a comment down below. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't. If you've got good and or bad and or indifferent experiences with playing with or against Raven Guard, and share it amongst your friends, families, gaming groups, anyone that will talk to you. If you've got questions or interesting topic points for our correspondence specials, then email us at heresyhammer30k@gmail.com. Or any abuse, just put that for the attention of Rob. And the one final plug for the Patreon. £3 a month supports the show, makes everything happen, keeps the wheels turning, and we give you an absolute metric shit ton of additional stuff for your £3 or £5 or £13, depending on how much you want to give us. Right, we're done now. We can all go to bed.
Night.
Good night, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.